Alright, boys, how well done?
Very well.
Hey, man.
All good?
Still pissed off.
Aye, we'll come to that, Kev, don't worry. Don't premature ejaculate our frustrations. Let's wait. Let's build up to it. At least dive into a wee bit of foreplay before we start absolutely battering Hearts.
I'm 46, mate. Why would I want to do something stupid like that?
That's very true, mate. It's very true. Oh, we should maybe try and see if we can get sponsored by Newman. Do they not help boys at 46-year-old? Do they not? When your rocket or your football team isn't working, get on to Newman. There
New
we
club
go.
sponsor.
Might as well. Well, I was going to say it's almost a full house, and it's almost like Hearts have won 1 in 5 that we have to talk about. So, but Shanks is shout out it like he does most weeks. Brads, what's been happening? How you been?
Oh, not bad, mate. Just been busy, so not been doing
Drunk?
much of the old. Aye, just been
Being
getting
drunk
drunk.
is what you
Not
meant
much
to
of
say.
the old podding. So, aye, glad to be back on this week.
Nice, mate. It's good to have you back. Kev, what's been happening? Is that a Zoom background that you've, or is that do you actually live in an establishment now?
I actually now live in an establishment with drapes or curtains, don't care what you want to call them.
We're not in
and
America, Kev.
I'm a hi-fi system. I'm all good to go, and I'm over the moon that my signed Hearts shirt from '98 Cup final is now up on the wall.
Well,
I've
it's
got
good that you
questions
talk about
straight off.
1998 because that was the last time anybody fucking had a stereo system.
Aye.
Hi-fi.
proper old school separate
subwoofers
system.
there, you, Kev.
One of
Aye.
them's a mini disc, isn't it?
Never got a mini disc actually. Never got one, Ando.
Okay, right, fair enough.
Well, that's good, Kev. Thanks for coming. Hey, Tam, what's been happening?
Not much. Just missed a couple of weeks. Felt I was getting bullied too much. Came back to even more bullying. So I'm looking forward to the night. Be great.
Well, it looks like the energy crisis has hit you hard. Can you put lights on or that? Or is it either buy tickets for Hearts games and sit in the dark or have a light on and miss the Hearts for a week? Is that what's happening, is it?
That's it. Exactly it. My bird stole my ring light. So I don't know what it is.
Wow.
You're what?
Your audio dropped at a very awkward situation there for yourself, as you announced.
Just stole my ring. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. It's all right. We've all been there, Tam. It's all right. There's no point pretending. We've all been there.
It's Valentine's week after all, wasn't it?
Right, Ando, what's been happening?
Oh, nothing. It feels like I've been doing nothing but going backwards and forwards between here and Tynecastle every midweek and weekend for the last God knows how long. Getting any cheery or positivity out of me tonight is going to be like trying to get shite out of a rocking horse. I'm just saying that right now.
Well, I speak for all Hearts fans to say. I speak for all Hearts fans when I say, please stop coming up for midweek games.
I know.
Your record is abysmal.
It's crap. It's like someone put it on Twitter, and you might cover it later on or whatever. But our midweek record is absolutely shit. So it's nothing to do with me. But I have figured out it's when I drive up, we are surefire getting beat. So I'm going to stick to getting pissed and using the train to travel up every week now.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Speaking of things on Twitter, my favourite stat that I've seen on Twitter this week, and I'll put it to you because you might have seen it as well, but for ones that haven't, Hearts have had 168 corners this season. How many goals have Hearts scored directly from a corner? Ando, you go.
Is it none?
Kev, what's your guess?
One.
One. Tam, you're going to have a guess?
Aye.
Well, it's not really one, is it? It was more directly from a goalkeeping error. So we'll leave it at that.
That's true. I would say we're somewhere in between 0 and 1. Craig Halkett's header at Ibrox is the only goal that we have scored directly from a corner this season, which just sums up everything we'll talk about later.
Look at him. Look at the smile you've got in your face. Like he's not warned anybody about this in the pre-show, but I can see a dossier making it onto the desk. This is 1,001 reasons why Hearts are shite this season.
Exactly.
Oh,
Why
I'm
do you
excited.
think I was on early tonight? I've been buzzing for this podcast. 8 months of being positive and being behind Robbie. Get it in the bin. Get my bed sheets out.
Excellent.
Get the Plano out. Get the bed sheets out. It's
You're
time
at
to
your
go full
best.
Corbett.
You're at your best when you are 100% full, as you say, Corbett. Like when you're mental. Oh, everyone's going to sponsor this now.
Well, welcome back to This Is My Story, your Hearts podcast, unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, all of our opinions are our own and normally miles off it. We'll go through some Kevin McKenna's as players. We've got a bleep down with Brads, which could be any of the games that have happened in the past week for Hearts. We'll go over some of the week's headlines. Robbie Bamman is up in the press saying that GMS is going to play left wing back. That made me laugh this week. We'll talk about our unbelievable ticket drive that Rab and Liam started on Twitter, and we've more than happy to get behind, sitting currently as we record this now at well over £5,000 raised. We've got some exciting news as well, hopefully being able to share on that front in terms of the club getting involved and Big Hearts getting involved and all that as well. We'll talk about the Cup. Obviously, we played Livingston at the weekend. We've got a Dundee game to review as well. We've got a St Johnstone game to preview. We might as well talk about the Cup since we've been drawn at home to St Mirren and the stars aligning, as they like to say. And then we'll just dive into what the fuck is going wrong, and we can dive into some of the questions round about that. Aye, should be fun, wouldn't it?
I don't know
Should
if
be
we've got
fun,
enough time, man. So it was recorded at 10:15. I think by the time you've finished your rant, it's going to be 2:00 in the morning. So I'm just going to chuck a sickie at work tomorrow. I think.
It's been a while. I've been sitting on some of these facts for a long time. But we'll move on. Kev, gears this week's Kevin McKenna's as players. If is there any ones we've got to answer for last week, or
Nope.
did we answer on them?
We've done them all for last week on last week's show, so we're all good from that point of view. So I've got 2 for this week. I will give you them just now, and we can go to answers at the end. So the first one, originally an Edina Hibs kid, but eventually played for the famous and I believe his boyhood club over a couple of seasons. Played most of his professional career in the Principality, and finally he played in a European final. So your 3 clues for the first one. Second one, a product of the Hearts Youth Academy, and in my opinion, possibly one of the most promising. Unfortunately, another one that left the club without any fee, and his best goal was a sublime strike after a sweet little nutmeg.
He's slowly just becoming Shanks, eh?
Aye, mate. Okay.
Can he grow the beard though, mate? Can he grow a beard?
The annoying thing is, I bet you when this player played at the Principality or whatever you want to call it, it wasn't even called that.
It's always been a Principality as far as I know.
You're going to have to help
All
me
the
out. I
time.
don't even know who plays at the Principality.
Stoke, is it no? Is that right?
No.
I might be
Let's
wrong.
just
leave it.
Let's just leave that there.
Aye, didn't answer it. Just leave him flapping.
Sorry, that was Shanks that said that.
Brilliant, Tom.
Right. I've got one of them, so that's all right. I'll work on the other one
Good on
as
you.
we go. Right, cheers all up, Brads. Let's do a down.
Right. Yeah, I've actually prepped 3 here, so we're only going to do one. But
So the
besides-
Rangers game, the Dundee game, and the Livingston game. Is that what we're doing? Is it?
No. I've got here an easy one, a medium one, and a hard one. It depends on Tam's answer
All
here.
right.
Right.
So, Tam, you get this question right, we'll get the easy one. All right. The game here that I'm talking about is the Coca-Cola Cup final in 1996. What was the score, Tam?
See you later, right?
You're kidding on.
Yeah, I did. Was that big high scoring one? Was that one?
That was the one with the goals, aye.
Did we win it, Tam?
4-3 or something?
It was 4-3.
No idea. It was 4-3, aye. Yeah.
I'll give you that one. So, because he fucking struggled, I'm not even going to give you the easy one. We'll go for the
Am I right though?
Aye, by fucking luck.
Aye, by
Um,
absolute luck.
Stab in the dark number there. So we've got a choice here, boys. You can either
Okay.
go with St Johnstone 3-3, one of my favourite games in 2014, or because we're talking about Europe, or battering, and because Corbett's been negative, or battering by Spurs 5-0.
Well, that Spurs team will be embarrassing for us.
Right.
And
Let's go
what
for Spurs
3-3
then.
against St Johnstone in 2014?
You want to go for that one?
No, I'm saying what game in 2014 did we draw 3 each way? St Johnstone.
That was the one.
And why is it one of your favourites?
It was the one that was 3 red cards, 6 goals, scrapping.
Keeper got sent off and everything else.
Aye.
No,
Some-
that I genuinely I'd prefer the Tottenham game.
Let's cheer ourselves up with Tottenham because Gareth
Aye,
Bale,
let's go for
Jermaine Defoe, Van der Vaart, they all played for Tottenham and they came up against like Jamie Hamill, which is brilliant. Let's give ourselves a laugh. Come on, let's go.
Right.
Oh, no.
As it goes around my screen, Tam, you're first.
Jamie Hamill.
I was just about to say that exactly. I'll go Jamie McDonald.
He was a sub. I'll give you that. Kev.
Friend of the show, Ryan Stevenson.
Steve was playing, yeah. Corbs.
Jamie Hamill.
Jamie Hamill was playing, aye. Ando.
Big Zal.
Big Zal was the captain. Tam, back to you.
Templeton.
Who did you say?
Templeton. David Templeton.
Temps.
Yep.
Yes, Temps was playing.
If you don't mind, I'm going to put my hands here. They're behind the microphone, but
that's
I'm not
absolutely fine.
I'm not putting them on my head. It's just awkward.
Right, Kev.
Sorry, I forgot that we had to do that.
So thinking about Danny Granger.
Granger was playing, yep. Corbett.
David the Boer, was he still here? Gangster.
David Abua was a sub that came on in the 81st minute. There you go.
And Abby Dozy.
Ando.
McGowan. Brian McGowan.
Unused sub, but I'll give you that.
Okay. Yeah.
Tam.
Yeah.
Andy Webster.
Webster was playing. Kev.
Shit hell. That being Kello in goals. Kello
Ah.
getting goals. Sorry,
Nice.
Corbs.
Yes, Kello was in goals. Corbs.
Van der Vaart went up against Ian Black.
He did. Think these boys remember that night? I think it was a training game.
They thought, what the fuck is this?
Ando. Okay, get into nitty gritty now.
I can't remember what you've all said. Has any? If you have said it, then sorry. Then I'll get another chance. Don't roll me out. Then I'm gonna say Granger. Danny
Yes,
Granger.
I'll give you
Fuck.
it. It's J-Mac, Steve-O, Hamill, Zal, Temps, Granger, Abua, McGowan, Webster, Kello, Black. That's what's been said so far.
Right. Fuck, I don't know. Boys, I think I'm chatting.
That phrase for a long time.
Fun then.
That's what
Tam.
the old boys play at the Dominoes.
Stephen Elliott.
Stephen Elliott came on as a sub, yes.
2014, he was still there.
That's what I was just guessing at that one, right?
Wait,
Kev.
oh no, wait a minute. Can I get another shot? Can you come back to me?
That's
Aye,
how it
wait,
goes
I'll
round.
wait
shot,
my
aye.
turn. I'll wait my turn.
In two attempts time.
Aye. Kev.
Trying if Ian Black was in midfield, who else was there? Well,
Friend of the podcast, we talk about him all the time.
Talk
Sure,
about all the time.
Sure, with he always ends up in like weird quizzes or stuff like that.
Oh,
I think I know what you mean.
I know. I don't actually.
Was actually
Andy
good.
Driver, would Driver still be at the club, or was he away?
Andy Driver was playing.
Andy Driver played today.
Yeah. Corbs, we've got 2 more starting players missing.
Michael Dawson still has absolute nightmares about having the time he had to come up against John Sutton,
Yes.
who run him ragged on the night.
We've still got 1 more starting player. Ando.
Just because of what Kev said, Scatchell.
Scatchell was a sub. He came on.
He was injured, wasn't he?
Right. Just because he said 2014.
So we've got, who are we missing? 1.
That, by the way, I'm telling you now, I'm out. Oh, that's it. I'm gone.
1, 2, 3 boys left.
The
1
midfield
starting
general.
players. Tam.
Tam's definitely not a midfield general.
Used to be. Just for the quiz things and stuff, Adrian Mrovic.
Correct.
Richard guy.
How the hell did you
I didn't
dig
know
that
how you
one
said
out? No. I'm out.
Mate, he looked like a 90-year-old man, and he was up against like some of the best midfielders on planet Earth.
I just realised I'm not talking close enough to the microphone. Hello, I'm back. Hands down, because I'm
Sorry.
not playing anymore. I'm out.
Kev, there's 2 names left.
One of
Right.
them fired a beautiful crossing in the 91st minute for friend of the podcast to score a derby winner.
Okay.
No. No. So thinking of 2014, was Johnstone still at the club? No, he left in 20.
Egert
No.
Jonsson was still there.
Egert Jonsson was an unused sub.
And the last one is Arvidis Novakovic.
That's correct.
Would be my guess.
And then you're correct, boys. Well done. You've managed to get them all. That is still giving Spurs players frights about coming up against some of these names.
Well done, because there's a couple on there I'd never have got. Fucking how do you say it? Morovic? I'd never have got that. Would never have got Egert Jonsson either.
Do you know the bizarre thing is?
The thing is as well.
I heard the Spurs team, and I heard them start with the boy Hilero Gomez in goals. I thought we've got a chance. Then I heard
And
the
then
rest of the team and went,
you
nah, maybe not.
you heard it was John Sutton that was the man in charge of trying to hit the ball at him, and thought, aye, fuck that.
I'm just trying to think of that Spurs team who was all in it, because they had Bale
Mate,
before.
it was ridiculous.
Kyle Walker would have been in the
Genius
team
as
back
well.
then.
Kyle
Yeah.
Walker,
Yeah.
Janus,
What's his
Van
name?
der
Went
Vaart,
to
Defoe, fucking
Huddleston.
Bale.
Huddleston played an absolute belter.
Aye,
Um,
the
Oh, I
back
did, aye. Yeah.
Jermaine Janus wouldn't have been there at that time.
No.
I'm going to call you, Tam.
whatever. Who cares? It was embarrassing. It was an absolute cakewalk, wasn't it?
And that's what we've got to look forward to in July.
Well,
That's not
let's
even
go too
that
far,
bad a
mate.
Hearts team as well, eh? That's not actually that bad a Hearts team when you think about it, for what we've had.
Well, the one that got a 1-0 defeat at Tynecastle and then a 1-1 draw at Anfield, it was even worse
That's true.
than that side. So there we go. Right.
What was the next leg? Was that 0-0?
No,
Aye.
Harry Kane missed a penalty and everybody talks
Okay.
about it as if it was like the greatest result that ever happened, because we got a 0-0 against Spurs under 10s.
That's why I guess Jamie McDonald, because he was the one that saved it, wasn't he?
Aye.
But I was at that game and it was brilliant. So
It was a good game. You're correct. Well, speaking of a piss take and being absolute out your nut and talking shite, Robbie Nielsen reckons Gary Mackay-Steven is going to be a left wing back. Anybody want
Right.
to talk about it?
yes, me. So you dropped this one 10 seconds before I started the tapes rolling on this. I hadn't heard anything about it. Explain to me how that's a thing. I've completely missed this, and I don't claim to have my finger on the pulse of kickback and all the other Hearts news. But please explain to me why that's a thing.
Well, it's no really. It was something that Robbie kind of said about trying to get the best out of GMS, because he's never really hit the heights that we expected him to, which for me says sell him and get him out of the club. We didn't bring him in to be a left wing back. We've got enough of them. If he's not doing what he's meant to be doing, he doesn't play. Simple as that. One of the things that we'll go on to talk about as to what's going wrong. It's a Robbie classic. You go back to any of the many absolute moan fests that we had last year watching us fucking struggle to beat Queen of the South and Arbroath and Morton, and you'll tell you that the number one thing when Hearts are struggling or we're up against it or Robbie's under the pump is this necessity to put square pegs in round holes. And the Gary Mackay-Stephen left wing back thing is just a prime example of the nonsense that we go through, Brads, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrible. And I get that you're trying to get something out of your player because he'll be one of the bigger earners in the club. So there's an expectation that he should be producing and he has to have, like, for the club, they've got to save their grace and say that he's doing something. But he's like 5th or 6th in that pecking order for me in that position. And we've watched him.
For left wing back, yep.
Aye. For any position.
Because I was going to say,
fucking
5th or 6th choice.
Anyway. We've watched him all year. He's an absolute shite bag. So he's not going to be putting into tackles. He's not going to be charging boys down. He's not going to be going to make those challenges that you need in a defensive sense. So it just makes absolutely zero sense for him to be there. We spoke a few times about him looking all right going through the middle, but those days are gone. He needs to be pumped at the team with a few other names.
Aye. Kev, if we're going to play devil's advocate, right?
Did you just do that deliberately because he took his
headset off? I know perfectly well he did.
Gary Mackay-Stephen has, 3 league goals, 5 or 6 assists or something like that this season. Barry Mackay has no league goals. Everybody loves Barry Mackay, never says a bad word about him. Everybody hates Gary Mackay-Stephen. Justified or just how football works?
So, in my opinion, it is justified for the point of view that, okay, Barry Mackay does not have any goals. He has probably double the amount of assists for goals than GMS. But what you also find in regards to Barry Mackay is the fact that he's always trying to create something. He always runs with his head up, looking to actually make a pass or actually cross to the right area. And on the occasions where he does lose the ball, he tracks back and he makes an actual proper challenge to get that, to get the ball back. He's done it on Saturday. He's done it a number of times over the season so far, where he's lost the ball, tracked all the way back, won it back because he's got a bit of pace about him, and then played it back to Gordon or whoever may be local. Local? What the hell does that mean? Maybe close by. So for that point of view, he actually does deserve the plaudits that the fans are actually giving him. There's times you and I have stood and watched GMS shirk responsibility of tracking back, actually not even bothered to actually challenge 50-50 on for a ball itself, which just frustrates the fans even more, and that's what drives that particular opinion of him just not trying and not being involved. Look at the times, however, that GMS has actually tracked back, where he has actually won the ball and then made a pass and actually created something. So the player's still there. It's just the actual attribute of taking the finger at his arse and being bothered, as far as I'm concerned.
I was just kidding, Kev. Barry Mackay's an absolute saint compared to GMS.
Sorry,
I know that people like to moan about it on Twitter to say, we're Gary Mackay-Stephen isn't as bad as what people make it. He's absolute dog shit. Get him in the bin. Right, let's move on to something more positive. Tam, you'll have seen, and everybody will have seen on Twitter over the last few days, we did a ticket drive for Rangers, managed to be very fortunate and lucky enough to give over 100 tickets away to families we would have otherwise not been able to go. We managed to raise, training gear and match day kits and all that sort of stuff, which was class. And on the back of that, a couple of guys that follow us on Twitter had obviously seen that tickets and stuff were low for the cup game and had sort of but said on Twitter that they'd be willing to buy a couple of tickets to take some families to the cup game if they were interested in it. And sort of from there, it's grown arms and legs to we started a ticket drive with those guys, Rab and Liam, and now we sit with £5,200 and something in the bank, which will blow everything that we've ever raised so far out of the water. It's superb to see, and Hearts fans have been phenomenal this year for getting round these sort of incentives, aren't they?
Absolutely. As you say, it just goes to show again how important football is, and for us not having football in person for long enough to give people the opportunity to actually go and see their team that wouldn't otherwise get is amazing. And big credit, as you have already said, but I'll only echo that, as to Rab and Liam as well, and yourself, Corbett, because you've done all the work for our end. So, it's just amazing, and hopefully it can become something that we keep doing, essentially.
Yeah, and like you said, there's obviously and clearly an appetite there for, I don't know if it's COVID times or whatever, and I'll come to you here as our resident nice guy, generally well-balanced guy that can see both sides of the coin, and, you're really sympathetic and look out for others that don't have as much as others. Is it a sign of... Is it a sign of...
Give me a minute. I'll go and try and find that, Ando, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't live here. Maybe somewhere else.
But being serious, is it like legit? We've obviously seen unbelievable generosity from our own fan base this season and last season. We've raised money for M&D. We've raised money to make the big flag. We raised money to buy tickets for the Rangers game. We've now raised £5,200 for tickets for the Livingston game. Is it a reflection of sort of how COVID times are going just now? Because the difference between the haves and the have-nots right now has sort of never been greater, or is it just something that, as a club, we are got a brilliant culture of just looking out for each other and being there when we're needed?
I think it's the second one, if I'm honest, because normally when it comes to this sort of stuff, my phrase is charity begins at home. You're not getting a dime out of me, sod off. But when someone asks me to put my hand in my pocket for something to do with the club, and I think I do genuinely think it's the second one, just because we've seen this for years, ever since the advent of the foundation. Hearts fans are used to giving up their hard-earned, whether it's to save the club or for whatever. But I think when a noble cause comes along, we're actually all happy to dig a little bit deeper. Some, I know loads of clubs will say they've got the best fans in the world and all that sort of stuff, but we've demonstrated that because we saved our club from extinction, essentially, took care of that, and then we still managed to dig. Obviously not everyone, but for most of the guys out there and everyone that's been involved, still dig a little deeper to throw in an extra 25, 30, 50 quid, 100 quid, whatever it might be. Some of these these donations have been absolutely huge. It is definitely the second one, which is it's a spirit that I think that the club has ingrained within all of the fans. Now, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but that's what it is for me.
Yeah, like I say, it's something to be proud of as well. And I have enjoyed the pettiness of the donations as well. I've liked that they've all been 5-1 variations, which has made me laugh. We've had £15, we've had £51, we've had £151 and £51. That's the type of pettiness that we enjoy when we're going for that. Brad's going forward. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. We're going to try and get round the table with the club, with big hearts, with other fans and stuff, now that we're doing this sort of working group, as to how we can make not just to match the atmosphere, but Tynecastle better and stuff. But there seems to be an opportunity and a want here where we could potentially start to pioneer something a bit cutting edge when it comes to tickets, like a ticket bank or a ticket exchange or something, because, that's now 2 games where, and we get it all the time in our DMs on Twitter when it's match days and folk can't go, people saying, I've got 2 tickets if somebody wants them, or I've got a season ticket if you want it. It's something that realistically we should start to dive into, see if we can get something going in it.
Absolutely. I think it's not lost on anybody the importance that football has as a community. We've all seen it through COVID, how much we've missed, hence why we're doing this podcast. we all see the importance of your club and how much it means to folk. So the idea and the opportunity now that you can maybe support others who are in your community that can't potentially go or don't have the means to go, I think it's massive. And we know how much it means to these people, if not more so to some of these folk and families. Just 1 or 2 games can make a massive difference to how your month, your week, your day is going. So I think it's a great opportunity, honestly, in terms of everything we advocate as a group of us and going forward as a club. That's what I hope they'll bolster our support as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep, and let's hope we'll just offer our sincerest apologies to anybody that got a free ticket for the Livingston game on Saturday. We do normally try and do better than that, so don't judge us based on what Hearts do on the park. just focus on the nice gesture.
Right, we'll give you the ticket. You don't actually have to go and watch it.
Or you can, but just pretend it was something better. That's what I would do. I know. We obviously touched on it there, but the Scottish Cup, quarter-final draw was last night. Hearts were drawn at home to St Mirren. Kev, happy with that? Annoyed? What's your thoughts?
No, I'm more than happy. I mean, you always say that you want a home tie, and that's what we've got. We've also got a home tie, and we're not involved against any of the two from the other end of the M8 motorway. So from that point of view, it's everything you would have asked them or before the game. I know that you already had it written out in the Star that we were meeting Hibs
in the final.
We'll no go there. Corbett, you've done this before to us, and we've ended up with egg in our face. So let's just leave it there, mate.
Okay, look. And I like that you said we were happy, because I was buzzing that we missed Dundee and Dundee United. I didn't want to get either of them. They are the other side of the M8, aren't they?
Aye.
Thanks. Good. That's what we wanted.
Was it?
Talking of...
Just leave it there, Ando.
Kev, what shite you talking there, mate? Go, never mind. Moving on. Life's too short.
Speaking of being too short, Tam, let's talk about cup omens. Since I've been speaking about it all day, do you want to hear them, or are we just moving on?
No, I want to hear these.
Sure, I can ruin your night.
Thanks,
I'm
Tam.
happy.
Thanks,
I'm
Tam.
happy. I'm happy to ruin everybody's
Quite
night.
right. Tam, you again got the stage fright and never answered the question that Corbett gave to you, so I thought I'd step in. Dead air is a
Sorry, I'd
crime.
quite like to hear them as well. I'm ready for some positivity on this podcast, to be honest.
10 years since 2012. On that cup run, we played Auchinleck. We played St Mirren. We've had to go through after extra time in one of those games. Hibs are still in the competition. Celtic are still in the competition. We're winning the cup, aren't we?
I think so.
Nah, are we? Fuck, man. We're getting put out by St Mirren, and I'll be doing it to Plaza, smashing it up. Right, talk about some serious stuff, actually. Again, maybe it's just the mood that we've got right now around the football club or whatever, but it's looking less and less likely that Peter Haring's going to be offered a contract. And he was in the press sort of this week saying about, he's a bit frustrated at his lack of opportunity and finding himself on the bench and all that sort of stuff. Well, Ando, I'll come to you. You get any thoughts on that?
I'd like to. I genuinely would like to keep him. I think I hate to use this phrase because it's wanky, but I'm going to do it anyway. But he's a good utility player. I would definitely keep him. He's obviously beautiful as well, and has, even though it's, I don't want to go on about his haircut, but he's a magnificent man. I think we should be keeping him.
He is a handsome man. Like
that said, if he was to leave, he's not one of those guys that I'd be saying, thank fuck we've got rid of him. Right, I genuinely would be sorry to see him go. There's loads of other people I'd get rid of ahead of him. I think if they don't offer him a contract, it is a shame. He's been here. How many years has he been here now? It's going to be
probably 5 or something. Or
I was going to say it's
going
to be a few. He's he's without knowing his personal circumstances, probably has a young family, made home in the city, all that sort of chat. For him to up sticks and leave and go back to Austria or whatever, I think it'd just be shit. I'd like it to see him given the offer of a contract. If he turns it down, fine. But I'd be gutted if he left, actually.
Brads Ando made a point there that I can't help think kind of sometimes it does Haring a disservice, but sometimes clouds what people see when they see Peter Haring and what he offers is Ando called him a utility player there. He's probably actually worth more to the team than just a utility player, isn't he? I know Ando never said that to be negative
Not to be
about Peter
disparaging.
Haring,
Yeah,
not to be finger or whatever, but it is something you hear fans sort of say about Peter Haring, and I think he's Rolls Royce to be called fucking a utility player.
I like, and he should be annoyed that he's not starting, and I like that mentality. We've said for so many years now, we should be replacing substitutes, should be replacing quality by quality, not just numbers making up the numbers. So if we're having to take Benny off, a Haring coming on, or vice versa, that's almost like for like, and that's a really good thing. That's a really good positive position for the club to be in. I know he's upset that he's not played. Again, I think he has played something like 26 games this year. I know he wants that start. Again, it's just maybe the way that Robbie likes to set up, that he wants Devlin just buzzing about and somebody just sitting and supporting. And just now that Benny seems to be the better option of the two of them. And in Robbie's eyes, again, I think they're very similar, the two of them. Haring and Benny, again, very interchangeable. I don't know what the club are thinking in terms of maybe potentially he's not an asset that they're going to make money off of. Are they going to invest much more time into him and money? Whereas Benny obviously has a years on him, and so does Devlin. So that's what I'm thinking the club are probably looking at as a financial venture more than anything else.
Aye, and actually, something Ando posted obviously in the group chat on Saturday or whatever is the fact that, you know, Benny is so reluctant to go forward, whereas I think Haring is more sort of forward thinking in that sense. And it actually touched on a bigger picture, Kev, or a bigger picture problem that's starting to creep in right now, and it's something that Hearts haven't had the luxury of being able to moan about for a while now, is that actually, and as much as it doesn't feel it just now because we're 1-5 and all that sort of stuff, but for the first time in a while, Robbie's actually main headache in the team is the fact that he has too many good players in positions that matter, if you know what I mean, and the formation doesn't get them all on the park. Like, for example, Benny, Haring and Devlin, probably the best midfield three we've had for a long time. And playing 3-4-3, you can't get three of them on the park. If you look at Kingsley, Suter, Halkett at the back, Sibic now as well, probably the best back or four centre backs we've had at the club for a long time. You look at the wing back areas as well. You know, Kingsley can play there. I think Cochrane, all right, he's off the boil, but I think that's my opinion on that is more to do with how we've managed them than his actual performances. We've got Mikey Smith that's 7 out of 10 every single week. We had Taylor Moore who looked very promising until his red card, and then again we've kind of mismanaged them with him one week being a right back, next week being a centre back, and then finds himself out the team. Problem with Boyce and Sims up front. You've got Gino, GMS, Mackay, McAneff, all these players wanting to play wide. Are we starting to see that on the park now in terms of Robbie trying to shoehorn in players and playing them out of position? Andy Halliday, for example, on Saturday played left attacking winger or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Is that what we're starting to see now? Is that a problem that you can see Robbie having for the remainder of the season?
It looks like it. It does look like that is the way in which that's why we're maybe stumbling. I think what we're also finding, and Ando, you go on about this all the time, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, is why do we keep changing a winning formula? You know, we went through a period of time where we were actually winning games, and then we started changing players around. Yes, I understand that Suter came off against was it Dundee United? Motherwell, sorry. Came off against Motherwell. We brought in Sibic, and Civic in his games that he's played hasn't looked out of place, so that's fine. Suter's not actually been back in the squad from that point of view until the weekend. But I think the element that we've got now is we do have a lot of very good players that all want to play. So it is a great headache for the actual manager. The problem is that the manager, in my opinion, can't actually juggle or can't actually, deal with that man management element. It should be that, do you know what? We won last Saturday. Okay, we didn't. But if we'd won the Saturday before or whatever, that's the team I go out with on the, without being any suspensions or any injuries. That is the team that I start with the following week. It's up to them, those players, those 11 players that get picked on the Saturday or on match day to actually perform. If they don't perform, then yes, there is the opportunity for those people that are on the bench. They come on, they actually, show promise. They do actually play better than, whoever it is that's came off. Then they get the automatic start the following week. It's that element that I think needs to come back. And Ando, you go on about, don't change your winning formula. Why do we?
I can't remember. I don't know if it was on Sportscene or if it was someone on Twitter that had mentioned it, that I think Hearts have actually used the least amount of players in the top flight this year. I think something like we've used 31 players. Every other team's used 36, 38, 39 players or something. And again, it kind of almost goes against what we're saying. But I think the problem, Tam, is the fact that we make changes, but like you said, so Andy Halliday comes in and he doesn't play as a left wing back or whatever. 1 week he plays left wing back, and then he comes in and he plays right back, and then he comes in and he plays centre midfield, and then he comes in and he plays up front or whatever. The Taylor Moore comes in and 1 week he plays right back, and then the next week he plays centre back, and then Peter Haring comes in and 1 week he's the sit-in pivot, and then the next week he's further forward. Barry Mackay plays in the 10, and then he plays here, and it's that like what Kev says, it's no just changing a winning formula, it's finding the formation that is like for like. So you bring Barry Mackay as the best attacking right midfielder that we have, for example, right? When he gasses out at 70 or 75 minutes, then you bring on the next best right-sided right winger, not the best left-sided right winger that played well last week. Shift him over to the right and hope that he does the same. That's where I see the problems. Is that where are you at? Where's your head?
That's 100% it. You've kind of hit the nail on the head there. Even like looking at the team on Saturday, we weren't even playing with wide players essentially. Mackay was kind of that number 10 wide role in a sense, and then Halliday was a bit more inside of the pitch. So we've changed our tactics to kind of, I don't know if that's to suit Livingston or to suit the people that he started with on Saturday there, but like it seems to be small changes like that, whereas we all know our best form at the start of the season or whatever, we knew exactly how we were going to play, what intensity we were going to play with, roughly who was going to play where, with the odd change maybe in the front three. But usually it was just the same. And I think with that sort of downturn in form each player and the downturn in results as well, it's kind of came with that slight change every week here and there, different slight tweaks to the formation and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, fair. Brads, if we're going to play devil's advocate a little bit, then I suppose Robbie's points and that he said after the game Saturday are kind of valid when you think that we're the 15th of February as we're recording right now. Would we come back to play football around the 19th or something for January or something like that? So, only 4 or 5 weeks ago, and you think we've played 7 or 8 games in that time. Do you think that's playing a factor? The fact that we have had such a sort of run of games back to back type thing taking its toll.
Remember, there was an interview with Robbie just before the Christmas break, and he said that he said he's factored in that he's going to do a lot of squad rotation over these games to manage players, to manage injuries, to manage a few of our more senior boys like your Michael Smiths, your Peter Harrins. Again, they're professional footballers. They should be able to go out 2-3 times a week and play, in my eyes. And I know that's probably quite a naive view to take, but if these guys are giving their all and putting their bodies in line, that's what they should be doing. That's their job. I think I agree with Kev. He's making changes for changes' sakes. So you look at Atkinson, had an absolute played brilliantly against Auchinleck, and he's just come in, so he's fit as a fiddle. He only played one game, then gets binned for Taylor Moore, who played shite on the right wing back next game week. This doesn't make any sense for me. Like, you've got to keep.
To be fair, he was out with illness, just to point that out. But
fucking just you piss on my parade then, Tam.
Didn't he? And Tam, you said he was shite the other week.
You said he was shite, Tam, so I'm coming in to defend this pal.
Well, he's done the same on the other side with Cochrane as well. Maybe he was LT, Tam. We never know. We know Robbie likes to tinker with the team. I think he's been sitting on his hands for the start of the season, and he's actually done well. And then he's, as you keep saying, he goes into his default Levine mode when his back's against it. So that's my thinking.
Ando, just to touch on it there, Brad said the key word that we speak about all the time, and it's something that we were keeping a running tally of last year. And I know I've nipped your head about it already this week or so. Again, you're looking at back-to-back starting 11s, and you're looking at what we've done it twice this year. Is that right?
I think so. When you asked me to check it, it was twice. Yeah. From the stats I've got, but just to scroll back, the reason I put my hand up was to go back to Brad's point about, like, you look at the opposition we've played. Like, we played 3 of our biggest rivals in the space of the last 6 games. So, right, Rangers, Celtic, and Hibs. Well, you could substitute Hibs out for Auchinleck, right enough. We've been playing them a lot recently, but you know what I mean. Joking aside, it's like we've had 3 big games that we've had to deal with. So obviously there has been quite an element of squad rotation. I don't know if that's like, and I think I put this in the group chat on Saturday when we seen the team lines come out. Is it a case of, is he just trying to go mental and just try to flummox the opposition by going, right, actually, we're going to put this team out. It's completely wildly different to our winning formula that we've seen earlier on in the earlier part of the season when we were winning week after week after week. Doing something completely different. Is this an effort to try and throw a curveball? Is that something that he's maybe trying to do? But I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, it's just a discussion point. But yeah, to go to your point, yes, we've kept the same starting lineup, I think, twice this season.
If that is a mentality, it's a stupid mentality. And it's a point that Corbett's chimed about this all year. If we want to be considered as a third force in Scottish football, teams should be coming to us shining their pants rather than the other way around. I could almost probably 1 or 2 players out tell you the Rangers and Celtic lineup and how they'll shape up for this weekend, because they don't give a flying fuck who they're playing.
Yep.
The other teams have got to come out and play them.
Exactly. Aye. And the other thing as well is it's like, you know, I'll use Barisic as the example in the Old Firm game, right? But I don't think Barisic has played for Rangers since that Celtic game. And you think of the Ewan Henderson chance in the last minute of the Edinburgh Derby because Taylor Moore doesn't follow his runner, doesn't know that he's there, and we rely on Tony Sibic to clear it off the line. Taylor Moore makes the exact same mistake for Dundee, and we lose at home. And he still played. He played at Ibrox and he played at Dundee, and then he finally lost his place on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? And it's that, what you've said there, Brad, it's that cutthroatness where, I know that we joked about it there or whatever, but if our manager's actually seriously considering Gary Mackay-Steven at left wing back because he's been shite everywhere else, let him go. Sit him down. Thanks for everything you've done, but you won't be playing. You're not part of the plans or whatever, until you get your finger out and you actually deliver in the position that I'm playing you. And you do that right across the team, because like you said, I had a laugh there. I put it down to, I wanted to laugh at Aberdeen because they've drawn the night and they've sacked their manager, and somebody quote tweeted us it in January or the start of January to say that Aberdeen would finish above Hearts, and I was going to be like, how hilarious. But then I had a look the night to slag them, and we're 13 points above 10th, and we're having the season of our life, apparently, heading for Europe, being best of the rest for ages, and we're only 13 points above being 2 places away before being bottom of the league. We're only 10 points in front of Hibs that we've slagged all year long. We're, 8 behind or something if St Mirren win their game in hand, they'll be 8 points behind us and they move up to 4th. When you look at it and you think, actually, you hate saying it and it does us a disservice because we started the league flying and we've played some really nice stuff at points this season. But when you look at the fact that Aberdeen and Hibs have been pathetic this season, Motherwell, I think there was a stat or something the other day there to say that Motherwell hadn't even picked up a point in the league for 2022 or something daft like that, and we find ourselves still only 10 points clear in third, somewhere. We've got 1 win in 5 in the league. We've scored 3 goals in our last 6. We've conceded 9 goals in the last 5. Like, that's really worrying. Do you know what I mean? When you actually sit down and you think, we've said hundreds and praised Robbie loads and loads and loads, and the team loads and loads and loads in this podcast this season, because I've said from the start that Robbie delivers for Hearts in the league. But what you start to see when Robbie's under pressure or starts to be put under pressure, put under the pump, all these little niggly things start to show up, what we just spoke about there. Doesn't he sticks to a stubborn formation that isn't really working, constantly changes the team. On Saturday, how many times did we change shape on Saturday? We were just throwing bodies on for the sake of it, and it was like, who was playing where? Do you know what I mean? We brought 4 subs on before 70 minutes or something like that. Then you take our most creative player off again in extra time. You take Barry Mackay off and you bring Woodburn on. And don't get me wrong, he goes on and he scores the penalty, so you're fine. But it's just really worrying that there's loads of trends for last year that scare me. What about yourself, Ando?
Just to go back to something you said a minute ago about if someone isn't playing well in that position, then bin them. Is that pretty much what you said?
Yep.
Right. So I'm not saying this just to be controversial for controversial's sake, but and I'm just going to level it out there as a question. Do you think that Toby Sibic is the answer to the John Souttar question? Because I sure don't. Seeing his last couple of games, I've been properly annoyed, right? He doesn't have any pace. He doesn't have any power. He doesn't have any composure on the ball. And he seems to get lost on the pitch, right? So, and you've seen that multiple times against Livingston at the weekend. The match beforehand against Dundee, I wasn't impressed either. Now, I'm going to caveat that by saying I hope it's just time to competency, because he's not had a lot of match minutes. Was it Barnsley we got him free? Is that right?
Yeah.
Aye. Then I'm putting it down to that, and I reserve the right to revisit this point in a couple of weeks' time. But see, if he doesn't start to fly in formation over these next couple of games, then I'd be asking serious questions about why we've got him, because I'm not impressed with what I've seen from him so far this season while he's been in the Hearts jersey. Really not.
Well, I think, like you said, he's came in at a time where the club's probably playing its worst spell, if you know what I mean. He's came into a position that, whether we like it, and Hearts fans like to admit it or not, and we've been equally critical, but also praise him when we need to. But the back 5 has looked rubbish without Halkett. You know, it's absolutely no surprise that we've conceded 9 goals in our last 5, and it coincides with the fact that Craig Halkett has been out of the team. Also remember as well that John Souttar then is our second, or nah, actually Kingsley's our best defender, but John Souttar has only just came back into the side as well, having been out for 2 to 3 weeks as well. So again, I'm with you as well. I thought Sibic was really good against Hibs. I thought he had a really, really strong game, played brilliant. But since then, there has been wobbles, but I'm going to put it down to the fact that the whole team's been wobbling, if I'm being honest with you. We've looked and we've lost all of our sort of fluidity and our rhythm when we're there. So
yeah, and it's not don't get me wrong, it's not a personal attack on Sibic. I want him to do well. I was delighted when we re-signed him because I thought, right, there was something there the first time, and I want to see that come to fruition. But I just think along with so many other players, he's the one that stands out for me. And again, not to labour the point, but that's why.
Yep. Well, might as well. We've touched on some of the games anyway, so we might as well have a wee look at the games that we're all moaning about and spat the dummy about. Start with Dundee. Dundee at home, like I said, we've just like to laugh at Aberdeen there. And when you actually stop and think about it, you say, well, we've failed to beat Aberdeen twice this year, we've failed to beat Hibs twice this year, and we've failed to pick up 3 points against Dundee at home twice this year. And the Dundee game was, I don't know, if you could sum up everything that when Hearts are bad or when things go wrong, they all happened in the Dundee game, didn't they, Brads?
It's standard Hearts. It's always this missed opportunity moment when everybody else around you's dropping points, and literally every other team around us dropped points that weekend, and we had an opportunity to go 13 clear and just have that wee safety net. And it's just, I think Robbie's touched on it as well, and I know he's the head honcho, and everything filters down for him. But the players need to take some ownership in the park as well. And by God, stop trying to pass the ball into the net and somebody have a fucking shot. Like, it's not. I'd be more frustrated if we're sitting here going, "Oh, we didn't create a single chance." We're sitting with like 20 odd chances against Livy, and not a single goal. Dundee, the first half, I think we had something ridiculous. We had some fairly decent opportunities, and we're just not taking them. So the players have to step up and take ownership there as well. And I think Robbie had spoken about it this week about them he wants his players to stop trying to play this perfect goal and just have a pop. So,
but then this is where, again, if you want to get into the bigger picture stuff, right, this is always my worry. And it might not just be levelled at Robbie, right? This could potentially be an issue with managers at our levels as to where we are and the sort of calibre of manager that we could afford to bring in and resource and all that sort of stuff. But when you think of players, like, what players is Robbie coaching to be better? Halkett, probably the only one this season that you've seen a marked improvement in from there. But if you think of, we spoke about it there, you talk about Benny, right? From day one, Celtic game, we've all said this guy, when he goes to shoot, it's got spaghetti legs. Like, he can't shoot on goal. He's not scored any goals. Look at Cammy Devlin. We've said the exact same stuff. He's not scoring goals. Barry Mackay isn't scoring goals. Gino isn't scoring goals. GMS isn't scoring goals. They're missing chances week after week. We're not scoring for corners. That's coaching for me. What we doing? Coaching. What players in there is Robbie progressing? Because we've all seen it in every single one of the players this season that we're now saying are rubbish. Cochrane looked brilliant for the first or the early stages of the season. Then we started to put him on the bench, drop him out, put Claypool in front of him, and then bring him back in for bit parts and then drop him back out. Taylor Moore was the same. He had to wait his turn, sit on the bench while Mikey Smith was playing, and then he gets his chance at right wing back, and then he out the team for 3 or 4 games, and then he comes back as centre back, plays 1 or 2, then he's out. And you're looking at, that's what worries me the most, is what Brad spoke about earlier, and it might actually have been Ando that said about the Peter Haring situation, saying that, well, is Peter Haring going to be a sellable asset for the club now? So the club's blueprint clearly going forward is to bring in talent, bring in players that we could potentially sell for big money. Are any of those players, have you felt, have kicked on? Like, since the first time you've seen Benny, does he look a better player now than he did 7 months ago? Since you've first seen Devlin, does he look a better player now than he did 7 months ago? Or are you seeing those players regress because they're not scoring goals, they're not creating chances, and they're making the same mistakes?
Regress is a strong word. I would say an element of them, yes, have regressed. But to answer your more pertinent point, which is, have I seen anyone progress? No, I haven't. I haven't seen anyone in recent weeks, and even before our shit spell, right? So I get we're all raging and all that sort of stuff, but you take away the last 4 or 5 games. Before that, have I seen anyone do something that I didn't think they were already capable of in game 1 when I first seen them? No. not a single person. And I spoke about this last week on the pod when it was just you, Kev, and I, is that good managers do coach players to be better, and we just don't see that out in Nielsen. I totally agree with you, 100%.
Well, I don't know if we don't see it out of him, or I just don't know if it's something that it's that level. It's the level of player, it's the level of coaching, and the level of facilities and stuff like that. Is that just what it is? But I look at like I said there, Benny and Devlin are good examples of that. Devlin has all the hallmarks to be like a Colin Cameron or a Paul Hartley or whatever. He's tenacious, he wins tackles, he's energetic, he's always on the ball. He's like a wee Yorkshire Terrier.
He's a Hearts bastard.
He constantly wants the ball, but he doesn't shoot. He doesn't look to shoot. He doesn't drive on. How many times do you see Benny 35 yards for goal and the place just opens up for him? Because opposition, no, he's not going to take it onto his left foot or right foot and ping it for 30 yards. He's going to pass it backwards. He's going to pass it sideways. And the other one as well is that's been stuck in my head was we watched Sims against Hibs, right? He had 2 or 3 good opportunities where he could have pulled the trigger or very similar chances, but his finishing, all right, you can say the goalkeeper made good saves or whatever, but his finishing probably at some points could have been better. I'm still seeing him missing the same chances. He still has the same passage of plays that gets his shot off, which is coming in, edge of the box, shooting either low and hard to the keeper's left or to the keeper's right, and it's too close to the goalkeeper or it's miles wide or it's whatever. And that's my big worry about this. What we have right now is coaching is how we're going to make these players better and to turn them into sellable and like £1 million assets. But coaching's how we're going to get out of this slump. And that is my biggest worry about where we find ourselves right now, because Dundee and Brad, you're right. We created loads of chances in the first half and the whole, Manty had balls and all that type of stuff. But then to play that game, you have to ignore the fact that go 1-0 up by an absolute ridiculous goalkeeping error. Do you know what I mean? Like we should never have scored at that chance because the keeper should have saved it. So when you actually level out and say, well, actually, the only other clear-cut chance we had after that was the Barry Mackay one, where he lobbed it over him and the guy hit it off the line. Other than that, didn't actually create anything. Nothing clear-cut. We half chance. The things that when you're at the game, they wind you up. Somebody cuts inside when they should have shot, or a pass just one too many. Then you've got to ignore the fact as well that Craig Gordon had to make another save in the first half to keep it 1-1. And then obviously the second half is an absolute shit show. Sibic obviously can't do anything about the deflection, but Taylor Moore at the back post. The thing I like the most about the Taylor or the winning goal from Dundee is John Souttar's reaction. We flew a lot of shit at John Souttar, and some of it rightly so, and all that sort of stuff. But he fucking destroyed Taylor Moore when he got up, because he went out to win the initial challenge, won that ball. He's done his job as a defender. He's first point of contact, won the ball. He's expecting the boys behind him to at least be touch tight or understand where that guy is. And the thing, you can make excuses for Moore all you want, but if you watch the replay, he knows he's there. He turns around, he sees him, and he does nothing to engage him, and then he scores, and John Souttar gets up and fucking slaughters him, which was the only point of that situation that I actually enjoyed. Kev?
I don't want to make any excuses for Taylor Moore. Full stop. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah.
I said it to Ando on Wednesday night at the game. I'll happily pay for the bus. There was too many occasions, various different things throughout the whole game annoyed the hell out of me, and Ando will tell you. And I think by the end of the game, you were the conductor.
Yeah, you were. Well, yeah. Let's not dress it up as something that's not, Kev. You were a complete pain in the arse during that game. The amount of vitriol that you were throwing Taylor Moore's way, and to be honest, by the end of the game, you had me as a potential subscriber, and I'll be honest, I'm helping you drive that bus to wherever it's going. I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's pretty much it. But to be honest with you, you could say we deserved something at the game because of the first half, but the way we played the second half, we could still be played now. We wouldn't have we wouldn't have equalised. The arse had fell out of us. It's that, like Brads had said, typical Hearts. It was just that moment. You knew as soon as it went 1-1, there's no way we're coming back. We're coming back from that. We just don't have it in us to lift ourselves. And the worry thing, and Tam, I'll come to you next for this because we played the side that you love more than Hearts on Saturday. But that done, know what it reminded me of, right? And it's not to be dramatic, right? We've been scudded 5-0 by Rangers on the Sunday. We've all heard the sound bites come for the changing room, the dressing room, the manager about unacceptable and won't happen again and get a reaction and all that sort of stuff. Just like we heard after Brora Rangers, just after all of that. In the game directly after that, we lose 3-2 at home to Queen of the South when we should have seen a big reaction to a shit performance and a kick in the arse. We've played Dundee at home after a 5-0 scudding at Ibrox and we've lost 2-1 at home. And then we move into the Livingston game where, again, we've seen no reaction. Livingston could have potentially been even worse than Dundee, Thomas.
Pretty much. You said we could have played that Dundee second half forever and no scored. I think we just carried on Saturday. Like, we were lucky that Livy also couldn't score. We could have played another 90 minutes, a half an hour, and still seen no goals between the two teams. So, but as you say, I don't want to keep comparing ourselves to like those across the M8 again. But look at Rangers' reaction after the Old Firm absolutely scudding us 5-0, and then we've had 2 games where we could react, and we've just been pedestrian at best, to be honest.
Aye, Brad's. We've laboured. We've made a load of the same points that we'll make the same for here, but I think the last one that is almost the elephant in the room that we haven't really touched on yet, and it was prevalent again on Saturday, is Boyce and Sims. This, since we've brought the big man in, yeah, he scored a couple of goals. He's looked quite good, but it's no coincidence that since we've started to play him and shoehorn him into the team, we have got 1 win in 5, and we can't score goals. We don't look like scoring goals. Our most prolific goal scorer is either playing as a winger or he's sitting on the bench.
I'm literally writing down my team for Saturday, and I'm sitting with this dilemma as well. I've literally sitting with Sims and Boyce and question mark next to their names. I think Robbie's still trying to figure out where Sims is effective. I think he hoped he could be one of these front three with Mackay, but effectively he's the same player as Boyce. I actually really like Sims. I think he's I think he's tenacious. He wins a lot. He's running at boys. I think there's a lot of potential there. But you can't take Boyce's goal scoring record out of it. And it's you can, if you go back to like old Rangers teams, there's many more players who are more dynamic than Chris Boyd and offered way more to the team than Chris Boyd, but he fucking bagged goals, so you can't take him out. You know, it's you've got he's a talisman for a reason. Do you try and play him again? Is that front three and see if he'll fit in? I don't know. I'm literally pondering that when I'm looking at my lineup for Saturday.
But it is that. Oh, sorry, Ken. When you go,
I was just going to say I think you have to start Boyce, going by whatever we've said tonight. This whole idea that players who haven't been performing. You've mentioned. I think he had 3 or 4. Sims had 3 or 4 chances against Hibs. He had a couple of chances on Saturday against Livy. He had chance against Dundee after we in the second half last week. He hasn't been taking those opportunities, as you rightly said earlier on. I genuinely believe if Boyce had been in that situation a couple of times, I think there's a couple of goals there, in all honesty. And I think from the point of view of Boyce and the way in which I think he's been felt like he's been pushed out of the team a little bit, and he's not as effective, as Bradley rightly says. And I wish he'd use somebody other than Chris Boyd. But you're right, Chris Boyd didn't give a great deal, but he knew where the goal was a little bit. I think Boyce gives more than Chris Boyd would do in our Rangers side, for the point of view that Boyce knows his folk up. He gets, the work rate that he actually has is 9 times out of 10 exceptional. He'll shut players down. He'll drag players away. And I think we've missed that high tempo. I think we've missed that element in that final third over the last 3 or 4 games.
Do you not
Does-
think
Oh,
Sims
on you go, Tam.
brings that at a better level at the moment?
Not been overly impressed with him as yet. I think there's a couple of times as
His
well. I
voice
think
hasn't really been
his
hitting
first
me.
touch. His first touch is actually like a pass. Nothing sticks to him at all.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say there is the penalties count towards goal tallies and penalty shoots.
Depends who you're asking. If it's Kevin Nisbet, then you said no.
No, that penalty shooters in extra time and all
No,
that.
they
sort of
do
stuff,
not
They
count.
not count as regulation. So, because I was going
No.
to say what he scored 3 goals in 4 games, Sims, for Hearts. But I agree, Kev. I agree with what you're saying. My bigger problem here is what we've said all along: is the solution to the problem is to change shape. Do you know what I mean? Because the idea is to play Boyce, Sims, and Mackay as the front three of the 3-4-3 means that Boyce has to play wide, Mackay has to play wide, and Sims has to play through the middle. The other problem that we have with Sims playing through the middle is that his strength isn't hold up play. He's not a target man. He's no Duncan Ferguson. Do you know what I mean? He wants to the body feet. He wants to run channels. He wants to run in behind. We don't play that when he's there. We use him as a safety net to beat people's presses or when we can't do it, and we just shell long balls up to him. And he must think to himself, what the fuck, man? What are we doing? If you look at the goals that he scored, they've been us getting to the byline and cutting it back and him cutting it and tapping it in, or him running the channel and being slid in. And if you look at where his goals have come from, that's where they came from as well. But you're right. Boyce is the talisman of 3-4-3. If you're going to stick with 3-4-3, when you're playing, and Brads and that will know that press, the way we play, your trigger point for your press starts from Boyce. He sets the press, he sets the tone. You don't get that from Sims. That's no ice here. He doesn't have that energy. He's not that tenacious when it comes to that. And we've been at our best when Boyce, Mackay, Gino, whoever, have pressed as a free from the front. We don't get that with Sims. And the question has to be, do we change shape or does Sims sit on the bench until we can come up with a formation that's better? That's depressing enough. Let's move on to something cheery. We've got an easy 3 points at a venue that we win at all the time on Saturday.
Fuck's sake.
We're going to just when you think, it's fine. It's been shite, but it'll get fucking much better on Saturday. We're on our way to Perth, where we haven't won for 11 years. Fan-fucking-tastic. And St Johnstone have actually picked up a bit of form, haven't they? I think they've picked up a draw. Did they win at the weekend as well? Let's
they
make
got
that
their
up. I don't know.
They got their first draw in fucking 40,000 games or something like that tonight. So if
Well.
that's form, that's form.
It's struggling for a win. Was it like those Digby Brown things where it's like, did you have a fall at work? Do you need someone to represent you? We should make one of those infomercials for Hearts.
Do you need 3 points to save you from relegation? Play Hearts at home. You're guaranteed.
Have you got a useless striker that scored no goals in 71 games? We know just the team. Right, so Stevie May hasn't scored since 2017 where he last scored against Hearts. Playing against him on Saturday, St Johnstone in Perth. We've already discussed what's fucking wrong with Hearts and what needs to change. Let's just do predictions. Save ourselves the depressing fucking realisation that we didn't have a clue who's going to play where and when. So, Brads, you've been doing your Monday Night Football analysis for shapes, formations, Gears your starting 11, and Gears your prediction.
Right, ready for this? Gordon.
Yep.
Civic, Suter, Kinsley at the back. I'm going to Atkinson and Cochrane, wing backs. Haring and Devlin through the middle. Mackay, Boyce, and enter name for the last player. And I've gone 1-0.
Good, okay. Ando?
as I said at the start, you've got more chance of getting shite out of a rocking horse than you are going to get positivity out of me based on the last 5 games. I'm going to say St Johnstone 2, Hearts 0. We won't even score on Saturday.
Proper wheels off the bus. 3 defeats in a row. Nice. Happy to have you back, mate. It's nice. Right, Thomas, tell us.
I don't think you realise how shite they are. So I'm going for 3-0 Hearts. 3-0
There you go. There's a soundbite for anybody that's listening of a St Johnstone persuasion. There you go. There's your
You do
soundbite.
this to wind me up, don't you? You do. It's like whenever I'm positive.
Thomas.
Whenever I'm positive, you're just death and destruction. And to be fair, you're generally right, which is really annoying. Fuck's sake. Right, move on.
I hope you get the battering you deserve for that, Thomas. Right, what are you saying, 3-0 Hearts?
Do you know, just hope we win up 3-0, like.
Hope versus reality are 2 different things.
Yeah, 3-0.
Kev, what are you going for?
Well, I've just had a little look. I see that Xander Clark came off tonight, injured after 42 minutes. So they'll have to play their backup goalkeeper. So from that point of view, St Johnstone 2, Hearts 1.
Do you even know who their backup keeper is?
I was going to ask that.
Yes, it's a guy called Elliot Parrish. He is
God.
Move on, Kev. I'm bored. Sorry, I asked.
That's about as much I can tell you.
Canny. Somebody called Elliot and also Parish, and we can't score into the. That's going to be so fucking grim. The annoying thing is, I know what Robbie's like because Josh Ginnelly scored against St Johnstone. Has 3 goals against St Johnstone. Your enter name is going to be Josh Ginnelly. It's going to be. Is that what you put? Did you put Gino?
Aye.
It'll be Gordon, Sibbett, Kingsley, Suter. He'll play Mikey Smith. He'll play Andy Halliday. He'll play Benny and Devlin. He'll play Mackay, Sims, and he'll play Ginnelly. And
Change my score.
Boyce
4-0 St Johnstone.
And Boyce will sit on the bench. I'm going to say 1-1 is my draw. I think it'll be.
Out of interest.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, mate. I know you're saying that's what Robbie will play. What would you play personally?
Well, get ready for this. This is my story podcast. Listeners, go back and you can batter me all you want. I'd actually play 4-2-3-1, and I would play Gordon. I'd play Kingsley where he's supposed to play as a left back. I'd play Sibic and Suter in the back 2. I'd play Mikey Smith as a right back. I'd play Haring, Devlin, and Benny. I'd play Devlin a little bit further forward, and then I'd play Mackay, Boyce, and Ginnelly with Sims up front. Is what I would play. Would be my team, but that's what do I know. What do I know?
Yeah, that's 12 players.
I know.
I was just about to say that's 12.
So we'll win. Oh. So we'll win. That's how good we are. We'll win. We'll still not win with 12 players.
I agree.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I meant to say that we probably wouldn't play Harry.
Has anybody ever tried that? Can we just fire an extra player on the park and see if anyone notices? Maybe that's the way forward.
We'd
if
probably
Nick Walsh was in charge, he probably wouldn't notice. So go for it.
That's it, Tam. That's what we wanted. We wanted.
He would count his toes, wouldn't he?
Tam was very upset with Nick Walsh on Saturday, weren't you?
They wonder.
I've just never seen somebody as incompetent as me in my life, and he's quite close to it.
It's the number one thing when you know that you're on a shite run into it, when you start worrying about how bad the referees are. Although, did you see last night in the Peterhead Dundee game? How the fuck was that not a penalty? We've said it hundreds of times in here. It worries me. People can get things wrong. That's fine. But see, when they guess, that's when what the fuck is happening there? That's a joke.
It's a lottery.
Oh, it was a joke. Right, Kev, we'll end it on your Kevin McKenna's as players. Give us the players again, and let's take it from there.
No worries. So first one was originally an Edina Hibs kid. Eventually played for the famous the team of his upbringing for a couple of seasons.
Kev, right, start again. Jesus Christ. But then we'll just blame it on your audio or something. What were you doing there? Fucking hell.
Right, okay, I'll start again. Originally a Dyna Hibs kid, but eventually played for the Famous over a couple of seasons. Most of his professional career was played in the Principality, and he played in a European final. So I'd usually go to you, Tam, but I'll not do that for you this time. So I'll go to Brad.
I actually think I've got this one, to be fair.
See if Brad's has
Go
got it. I'm not sure, Brad, you've just pulled the face, and you pulled the face off because you didn't have a clue, or the fact that Tam actually might have this.
I didn't think you were coming to me, so I wasn't listening to what you were saying, so that's my thing.
Cool. Okay, then, Tam, go then, take it away.
Neil Alexander.
Done, mate. Well done. Thought the fact that it was in your sort of era, you know, the last sort of 10 years, you'd be actually have a better chance of actually getting it. Correct, Neil Alexander is the right answer. And the second one for the evening was product of the Hearts Academy and one of the most promising. Unfortunately, another in which there was no fee credited to the club. And his best goal, in my opinion, was after a sublime strike after a sweet little nutmeg. Go on then, Mr. Corbett. Who is it?
Sam Nicholson.
I was going to say Sam Nicholson.
Yep, Sam Nicholson would be the correct answer. Your two Kevin McKenna's for this week.
Magic. Why did you say the Principality?
Played in Cardiff, mate.
Cardiff, aye.
Not Stoke.
Aye, but he never
Yeah, I
played.
got that way wrong with Stoke.
He never. The Principality is new. Is that not the Millennium Stadium? He never played there.
No. Cardiff is classed as a Principality. Don't ask me why. Let's just leave it there.
Let's end it with you talking shite, since that's how we started it. So, fair enough, eh?
Magic.
Right, boys. Well, actually, we've got a full week between games this time. So hopefully, a wee break for the Famous. I seen actually that was it Atkinson was at fucking Salt Bay or whatever he was. How was he affording that? Did you see that? It was on his Instagram or something. I'm sure he was at that fucking wanky place. And on that note, bye.
See you later.
See you
later.
later. Gorgon out.